Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Yes, this is Obo Shoes Games. I'll be phoning in today's video. Get it? Because the phone. We're going to do Grandma Flexington's story. The whole thing. I don't know how long this is, but here we go. Favorite ice cream is Rocky Road. Whale Squid, Blowhole the Apocalypse, Pet Racks, number 1 Woody, number 2 Anita, and number 3 Mr. Beasto. High 5 Flexington, place of residence, Tsunami Beach answers. Okay, they better be the same every time. They better be. Oh god. What happened? What happened? Dart self-damaged. The dart... What? The dart has splash damage. Get this thing out of my inventory. I will not be doing that again. Draw horses with the last go. Leg. Leg. Body. Head. Tail. Hang on. More of like a nose. There we go. That's not that bad. Pistachio was the guy. So yeah, it's Rocky Road. Okay, good. Whew. This is really exciting, isn't it? Wow, great commentary. Great content. You should see if you can explain the entire Bionicle lore. In the beginning, the great beings created the great spirit Matoro Nui inside of a giant robot. Hang on, we got interrupted. The great beings create the great spirit, which is a giant robot that goes to other planets and tries to research them. And the great spirit Matoro Nui is a giant robot that has Matoro inside of him. And they maintain him. They're also robots that live inside of a giant robot, but they don't know that they're in a giant robot, I don't think. Maybe they do, but it got memory wiped at some point. Anyways, there's an evil robot inside of him called Makuta that wants to take over the giant robot shell that everybody lives in. So he puts the great spirit to sleep. So the robot shell is still there. Like the giant robot they live in is still there, but the spirit that controls it is asleep. And so on the island of Metru Nui, we gotta start Metru Nui. Metru Nui is where everybody lives before he goes to sleep. And then Makuta puts him to sleep. Take your award. It's done? I thought there was like 5 questions. $1. Okay. Okay, who cares about that? Anyway, so Makuta casts Matoro Nui into a slumber. Vakama, Wanua, Nokama, Matau, Nuju, and Anawa are the Toa Metru, because Toa Likan gives them their Toa powers. And then they gotta wake Matoro Nui up, but they can't wake him up. They're too late. Makuta gets off his spell to cast him into a sleep, but they do put him in a crystal. But then Rudaka and Sidorak come in. They're commanding the Vizorak army. And then they imprison the Toa Metru and turn them into the Toa Hordaika. And then the Toa Hordaika go meet Kitongu, except Vakama. Vakama stays with Rudaka, but the Toa Hordaika go meet Kitongu with the Rahaga. And Kitongu turns them back into the Toa Metru. And then Vakama is a Hordaika, and he betrays Rudaka, and he shoots Rudaka with his Ratuka spinner, which frees Makuta from the crystal that he was inside of Rudaka. So then they take all the Matoran that got cast into a slumber, because Matoran got cast into a slumber as well. They take him and they ship him off to the island of Matoro Nui. And in between that, the Mask of Time, which Vakama forged out of the 6 great discs of Metru Nui, gets lost, and him and Makuta and the Shadowed One, who is the leader of the Dark Hunters, have a big old adventure. This is the raid difficulty, yeah. This is the real raid difficulty. What am I joined into? You joined into the Bionicle story explained. Right now we're on like episode 1. Where was I? Oh yeah, they do a book called Time Trap where they fight over the Mask of Time, and Vakama makes a deal with Makuta that Makuta has to give them 1 year to set up Matoro Nui and prepare their defenses, or else he will destroy the Mask of Time, which will destroy all of time itself, which they're going to put all of time in one mask. So Makuta says yes. So the Toa Metru take all of the Matoran to Matoro Nui and they awake them, but to awake them, they got to give up their Toa power, so they become the Turaga, which are the wise elders. Toa Likan also became a Turaga, but then he died. So they're on Matoro Nui, and then they have a giant war for either 100 or 1,000 years, I forgot. It's a multiple of 10, where Makuta turns all the Rahi, which are the beasts of the island, he turns them evil. And then the Matoran and the Rahi have a big fight for years. And they have destiny that the Toa Mata, which were created on Doxia, with Helrix, I think, was in charge. Not in charge, but she was overseeing it, because she's the first Toa after all. So the Toa Mata float up onto the beach, and they assemble themselves because their biomass has been decayed because they were in their canisters for too long. Kopaka meets Matoro, which is very important. Matoro is the translator for Turaga Nuju, and Turaga Nuju is the guy that was a Toa Metru that got transformed into a Turaga after he woke him up, and he only speaks in clicks and whistles for some reason. So Matoro has to translate his speech for the residents of Kokora, which is, of course, where the Ko-Matoran live. They're called Ko-Matoran because they're the white ones with Kopaka for the snow. Anyways, so the Toa Mata meet the Turaga, and the Turaga are like, you are the destined saviors, but what you gotta do? is you gotta go find 6 masks, and they go find the masks in a fetch quest storyline. And they get them all, and they put those masks into the Toa Suva, and then that makes them into the golden mask that gives them all the powers of the mask in one mask. They go into Makuta's lair, because the Chronicler is there too, of course. They go into Makuta's lair, and then they fight him, and he gives a cool speech. And at this point in the story, Makuta is like a Lovecraftian entity, not really a defined threat, which is a little cooler, I think, than just generic bad guy. But anyways, they shoot him with a big laser blast, and they seemingly beat him for now, ... But then, the chronicler Takua falls into a pit of Bohrok and awakens the Bohrok Swarm. The Bohrok Swarm, as you know from the Korok music video. Where's the movie tie? We're not even at the first movie yet, buddy. The Korok are all the boat. There's Tanakh, Korok, Leva. They're all, you know, it's like the same prefix for, you guys know the Bionicle prefixes, right? Of course. Anyways, so the Bohrok ravage the island, and the Bohrok are not inherently evil. They're actually machines, and they are driven by a hive mind, and the hive mind is controlled by the Baraki, who are the queens of the Bohrok Swarm, and the Bohrok's goal is to wipe out everything on the island, just get rid of all the organic material, because really, the Bohrok were framed as bad guys, but it was retconned / revealed later in the story that what the Bohrok are actually trying to do is clear all the foliage off the island so that when the Great Spirit robot rose back out of the ocean, it'd be nice and clean. So they're basically a cleaning mechanism. They're like blood cells that are trying to kill a virus. Our heroes being the virus. So the Toa go defeat the Barag queens, and they imprison them, but then the Bohrok... No, not Bohrok Nuva. What are they called? The Toa become the Toa Nuva because they fall into the energized protodermis inside of the Barag's lair. And then the Toa Nuva have to fight the Bohrok Cow. That's what they're called. The Bohrok Cow are the stronger Bohrok, and they try to free the... There's a whole thing with Nuva symbols, but that was like a flash animation, so don't worry about that one. And the Bohrok Cow try to free the Barag, but then the Toa Nuva shoot a laser at them, and they give them all their powers. And then the Bohrok Cow have so much power, they're overwhelmed. And then they fly. One flies into space. One like gets crushed by his own weight. They all die, but they're not really dead because they're like robots. But you know, they're dead. So after the Barag are defeated, the Toa Nuva have cool new Nuva powers. But then the chronicler Takua is in the lava. Well, this is the first movie. The chronicler Takua is in the lava, and he finds the Mask of Light. And the Mask of Light says that you got to find the 7th Toa, and so they set out, him and Jaller set out on a quest to find the 7th Toa. Just watch the movie for this part. They go on a big adventure. Long story short, Arakshi kills Jaller because they said Jaller was the hero of legend, but actually it was Takua the whole time. And Takua knew this, but he shirked his responsibility until finally, after his friend dies, he puts on the Mask of Light, becomes Takanuva. The Rakshi are there. They're also the sons of Makuta, which are controlled by the Krata, but the Toa Nuva defeat them with like a hurricane tornado move. The Krata and the Rakshi are beaten for now. They'll come back in Bionicle stars, don't worry. Much to my disappointment. That set sucked. The Rakshi Bionicle stars. Anyways, they go into the lair of Makuta, and Takanuva goes there, and Makuta wants to play a game of Koli against Takanuva. Koli is kind of like hockey, or like lacrosse. So they play Koli, and Takanuva shoots Makuta with a Koli ball. He hits him really hard, and he knocks him down. Then he goes over to Makuta, and they fight, and they fall into a pit of protodermis, which melds them together. But Takanuva's in control, so he's got like Makuta's body, but he's Takanuva's personality. So he opens a big old door, and then he gets crushed by the door, and his head falls off. But then his head reforms into himself. I don't know how that happened, and they make Jaller come back to life as well. So then they go to awaken the Great Spirit, and then when they awaken the Great Spirit, they go back to Metru Nui, and they have a big party with Turaga Dume, who Makuta did make a double of, but they get the real Turaga Dume. ZZZ, shut up, this is important. This is the real right difficulty, as someone said earlier. So Turaga Dume is like, alright, let's wake up Metru Nui, but then they find out that they didn't wake up Metru Nui because actually, Metru Nui is dying. He's not just asleep, he was dying the whole time, and now he's going to be dead pretty soon, and if he dies, it's lights out for everybody. So the Toa Nuva have to go to Voya Nui to find the Mask of Life. Not the Mask of Light, the Mask of Life. And they go there, but there on Voya Nui has been enslaved by Paraka. The Paraka are the Yo-Yo Paraka guys, those guys. They arrived in the island and pretended that they were Toa, and then they tricked the Matoran into worshipping them. Then they enslaved the Matoran. And when the Toa Nuva fight them, the Paraka just annihilate them. The Paraka like wipe the floor with the Toa Nuva, so they're like, okay, we gotta go on a side quest. We gotta go like meet Artaka and crap. You guys can handle this. So then, 6 new Toa, which are previous characters. Jaller, Matoro is the most important one. Holly, which is H-A-H-L-I, I believe. You got Huki, you got Nuparu, and the green one is Kongu. They were actually McDonald's toys. They started off life as 2001 McDonald's toys of Bionicles. Now they're Toas. Pretty cool for them, except for Holly. Holly was not a 2001 McDonald's toy. Maku was a 2001 McDonald's Gamatoran, but we don't worry about that. It's close. It's 5 out of 10. Zactam was also a McDonald's toy, yes, but he wasn't like a 2001. He was derivative of the Paraka. He didn't come before the Paraka. Anyways, they arrive on the island, and they free the Matoran and fight the Paraka, and they find the Mask of Life, but the Mask of Life is with Vizak, which is the Vizon is the crazy one, right? And Vizak is the Paraka, because the Paraka Vizak, I'm gonna get this wrong. The Paraka Vizak finds the Mask of Life, and it splits him into 2 personalities, and one of them is Vizon. I think it's Vizon, and Vizon gets on a giant spider. Vizak is the Paraka? Okay, Vizon gets on a giant spider, and the Mask of Life is fused to his brain. So they go down, the Toa do, and they fight him for the Mask of Life, and eventually the Mask of Life comes loose or something, and it falls into the ocean, and the ocean is like a big old pit, and it's called creatively the Pit. I'd rather watch baseball at this point. Look, we're like halfway through, more than halfway through. So the Pit is a prison that they put all the worst criminals in, and the Baraki are warlords that got sent to the Pit a long time ago, and they're all mutated and they shoot squids, and so the Baraki find, or they get, what's shooting at me? Who's interrupting the story? Get out of here, Chef Brulee. Anyways, the Baraki discover that the Mask of Life is now in their domain, and they're like, oh, we want that. So they start fighting, because they're warlords, they're not really friends. There's a lot of alliances. Somebody made a 3-hour stop-motion animation of this on YouTube. You can look it up. I forgot what it's called, but it's pretty good. So the Toa Inika, which are the new Toa, they go down there and they get new armor, and now they're like underwater guys. And Jaller has a pet crab, and Makuta is not dead. Makuta is inside of a robot. Hydraxin is the jail. Hydraxin is who Decar becomes, because Decar becomes a new Hydraxin. What's the name of the guy? Oh yeah, Maxilos and Spinax. Maxilos is the robot that Makuta is inside of. So Makuta is talking to Matoro, like, look, dude, I want to take over Matsu Nui. I don't want him to die. And so Matoro's like, I mean, you are a sworn enemy, but we have a common cause. We both don't want Matsu Nui to die. So after they find out Matsu Nui is basically going to die, they do find the Mask of Life. But the Paraka and the Baraki, no, not the Paraka yet, there's just the Baraki. Or is it Paraka? I'm not sure. I think it's just Baraki, are attacking them. And the Baraki are like, give us a mask. And so the rest of the Toa stay behind, and Matoro goes into the core of the universe with the Mask of Life, and he sacrifices himself, which is very sad. He sacrifices his life to the Mask of Life, which gives the Mask of Life renewed life. And so then, Matsu Nui's back to life, and everyone's like, cool, that was close, he almost died. But then Makuta is like, haha, idiots, and Makuta takes control. So now Makuta has the control of the entire Matoran universe, which is not ideal. He has control of the giant robot shell, which they all live inside of. So the Toa Nuva go, Artaka, give us new armor that looks really stupid and bad. And so Artaka's like, you got it, son. I got recently canonized by a TTV contest. And so they go to the swamp. I don't know much about this part of the story because it's pretty lame, IMO. And it turns out Makuta is not the name of one guy. Makuta is an entire species of insect-like creatures that are all evil. They're just evil because they're named Makuta, which is kind of a dumb retcon. And the real Makuta, his name is Pterodax. So the villain that was called Makuta for the entire, 7 years is now called Pterodax. And Makuta is just his race. So keep that. That's very important to keep straight. So the Toa Nuva split up into Kopaka, Pohatu, and Liwa go into an air thing. And they got jetpacks. And then in the swamp one, Tahu, Gali, and Onua go there, and they fight the Makuta, Also, the Mask of Life makes itself a body and calls itself Toa Inika, and it goes around learning what it means to be a true hero. And eventually, the Toa Nuva find all the MacGuffins while they're fighting the Makuta to go into the core of the world. And oh no, wait, Makuta didn't take over yet. Makuta did not take over yet. No, I'm wrong. The twist, that's not the twist to come. Okay, so they revive Matsu Nui right now. They revive him. So then, after the entire Bionicle storyline, and you're a kid and you think the storyline's finally over, in the finale of the storyline, it turns out when they wake up Matsu Nui, it was Makuta. Makuta took control of Matsu Nui. So the story ended by Makuta winning, and he takes control of the giant robot, and he takes Matsu Nui, and he puts the Great Spirit Matsu Nui inside the Mask of Life, and he ejects him into space. Matsu Nui's mask lands on the planet of Bara Magna, which is a whole new world full of gladiator people called Glatorian, and they fight for water and resources and crap. And it was a whole new direction, but then Bionicle got canceled right then when they started the whole new direction. So they had one movie that's not very good, where Matsu Nui finds a bug, and the bug is his new friend. And so he learns about the true meaning of friendship from the Glatorian. The only Glatorian of note is called Gresh, and he's green. So then Makuta realizes Mata Nui is down here trying to rally a cause, and so he comes over with this giant robot that's like bigger than the whole world. And he lands there and he's like, I will destroy you. He's like Unicron. You know, if you know Unicron from Transformers, like similar scale. And so the Glatorian villagers build a giant robot for Mata Nui out of their house. Their houses can become a big robot. And so Mata Nui takes that big robot, which is smaller. And then Makuta unleashes hordes of Baraka. Rakshi, told you the Rakshi would be back. And what's the other one? What's the other Bionicle stars for the villains? It's Baraka, Rakshi, and what else? It's Bionicle stars, I forgot. What is it? I gotta, hang on. Because the heroes of Bionicle stars, the final wave of Bionicle sets is Tahu, Gresh, and Takanuva. What is the other bad guy? It's Baraka, Rakshi, and what else? Oh, it's Skrull. Yeah, it's Skrull from Glatorian land. Anyways, so they have a big fight, and Tahu finds all 6 pieces of the golden armor, and he blasts all the Rakshi to death instantly. And then while Makuta and Mata Nui are having a giant robot fight, Makuta gets distracted by a said giant blast. That's enough time for Mata Nui to grab the moon. He just takes the moon, and he hits Makuta's robot in the head with the moon, and it kills Makuta instantly. And then Makuta is dead. And then Mata Nui sacrifices his life, because Bara Magna is like Tatooine, right? It's like a crappy planet. But Mata Nui uses all of his life force to transform Bara Magna into a paradise with nothing evil on it. All the evil guys got like captured or killed. And so the Bionicle story is the Glatorian and the Matoran live happily ever after on the island of, not island, on the planet of Bara Magna. There was a whole lot more planned. There's a lot of side content, a lot of side stories. Velika, you know, Tren Krom, a lot of deep lore. But that's like the broad overview. So there was the Oboe Shoes version of the Grandma Torg story. Hope you enjoyed. See you tomorrow for more Bionicle lore.